材を集めて自身を強化してカスタマイズしていくと。
ゲームのスタイルとしては、オーソドックスなハック&スラッシュという形ですね。ただアクションがスキルや強い力を引き出すためのトリガーになっているところがポイントかなと思っています。
プレイヤーの背中についているギデオンコピーというのがかなりキーアイテムとなっています。それによって、遊び方とかカスタマイズの方向性っていうのも変わってきます。
ハイファンタジー感というか、その上品さというところはすごい意識してくれっていうふうに言われましたね。カートゥーンチックにならないようにというか、リアルに本当に存在している人たちがいるかのような感じは意識しました。
このゲームは運営型のゲームとして開発しています。発売後も定期的に新しいコンテンツを提供する予定です。
ようやく皆さんに改めてこういった形で発表できたので、本当に私たちも嬉しくなってますし、まさにこれから開発の佳境になっていくので、精一杯頑張っていきたいので、皆さんも引き続き応援よろしくお願いいたします。
Now let's check out the next major entry in the popular Life is Strange series, True Colors. The team at Deck 9 is ready to give you a deeper look at Alex Chen's psychic power of empathy. But first, here's a look at the Life is Strange Remastered Collection.
Feels so weird to be back. After 5 years, you're still Max Caulfield. What do you remember about us as kids? I think about us as little pirates, running and jumping through Arcadia Bay. We are awesome! Come on, let's dance! Or take my picture with your new camera. That's Rachel Amber. After my dad died and you moved, I felt abandoned. Oh, good, you're here. Rachel saved my life. She was my angel. Something happened to her. We have to find her, Max. Holy shit. Max, what's going on? No! Whoa. I discovered I could reverse time. What the hell is this? Max, help!
Whatever's going on between us is special.
Step back before you regret it.
Get in, Max! Then I realized I had a choice and the power to change everything. Arcadia Bay is on the edge of disaster. Time to change time.
Whatever happens, I'll always have your back. Always.
Hi, I'm Maya, also known as MXMTune. I'm a musician and the singing voice of Alex Chen in the upcoming Life is Strange True Colors. I hope you enjoyed that first look at official gameplay from the remastered collection. As a longtime fan, I know I did. You can see the love and care that Deck 9 have put into remastering both Life is Strange and Before the Storm. This collection features improved character animation, lip sync, and visuals, breathing new life into these two beloved games. Back in March, we also revealed the next major game in the series, Life is Strange True Colors, a small-town supernatural mystery. Alex Chen must uncover the truth behind her brother's death, using her psychic power of empathy to unravel the shocking secrets of Haven Springs. Today, we have a first look at Alex's unique power in action. Here's game director Zach Garris for more.
Alex's psychic power of empathy is integral to the story of Life is Strange True Colors. It impacts every relationship she builds and every decision she makes.
Never thought I'd have a freaky empath friend.
For years, Alex has been unable to shut out the strong feelings of others, the fear, sadness, and anger of those around her, leading her to believe her power is a curse. In the wake of Gabe's death, Alex realizes the only way she can find the truth is to embrace her power.
I can't believe this is happening. And the only way to understand is to feel what he's feeling.
From the very start, you can use Alex's power to focus on brightly colored auras to gain an insight into people's emotions.
He was too young. Just too young.
These valuable insights deepen Alex's relationships with the folk of Haven Springs, as well as sparking new dialogue options and events, as here from a scene very early on in the game.
You're gonna lose her. You're gonna lose her, and it's all your fault.
Alex has uncovered a secret that Mac wants to keep hidden from his long-term girlfriend, and now he is terrified that Alex will reveal it before he can talk to Riley.
She is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So please, help me out.
Mac's telling you a whole lot of bullshit.
Listen.
Thanks for telling me the truth, Alex.
Are we still together?
Are you serious? I need to get back to work.
Sure, Alex, we'll get out of your way.
When Alex encounters a particularly strong aura, she can reach out to actively connect with that person's emotions. This generates a nova, a supernatural flare that transforms the world around Alex into a reflection of that person's psyche. In this altered, emotionally charged state, Alex can experience fragments of thoughts and memories to get to the root of their issue. But not every emotional crisis can be easily dealt with. Some carry a dangerous, even life-threatening amount of power.
He's dead! I wish I were too.
No decision is easy, and the consequences will be felt across the game.
This anger could kill her. What if I could just take it away?
Using Alex's power is the only way you can uncover the truth behind her brother's death.
What would that do to her? What would it do to me? And even if I can, should I?
How far will you go in pursuit of that truth? The choice is yours.
Alex's powers look so awesome. I have no idea how I'll make some of these choices, but I can't wait to play it with you all when it comes out on September 10th. Don't forget, you can pre-order Life is Strange True Colors now. And if you choose the Ultimate Edition, you'll also receive the Life is Strange Remastered Collection. And that's it for today. Make sure to follow the Life is Strange social channels for more.
And now, we are excited to unveil a brand new title from Square Enix Japan.
I'm here to kill Chaos. That's my mission. Looks like Chaos has been waiting for us.
You gonna make us go in there and find you?
Guess we'll just show ourselves in.
I only know one thing. I want to kill Chaos. I need to. It's not a hope or a dream. It's like a hunger. A thirst.
Move aside! You're dust!
You sure Chaos is here?
Yeah, they can only squash monsters for so long. I hate doing pest control.
This is the Shrine of Chaos. He's here. We just have to hunt him down.
Feel the pain!
The darkness is so thick I can taste it. This is it. No doubt.
Die already!
There was a knight who left on the same journey as you, but never returned. His name was Garland. If you could, I would be grateful if you looked for him.
Chaos.
I'll crush you! beaten! And who are you?
We're here to kill Chaos.
The prophecy's very own Warriors of Light.
Really?
He always wore such splendid armor, with a helmet that was terrifying to behold.
It's Garland!
No. I become Chaos.
I'll leave you with a look at some of the amazing Square Enix titles you can play now, as well as those to come.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
Just hit me with it.
gonna drop plate number 7.
They're gonna do what? It's all or nothing.
No, of course I will. I'll call you.
Thank you for joining us today. Keep an eye out for news about our next Square Enix Presents. I'm Matt Mercer. See you next time.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the GameSpot Post show for Square Enix Presents at E3 2021. I'm Lucy James, joined by Phil Hornshaw.
How's it going?
And Timur Hussein.
Not everyone needs to have a press conference. I'll say it again. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay? Send an email.
I don't think that was as bad as Gearbox. I think it started strong and then it just definitely derailed a little bit, but we'll talk about it. We're here for the next half hour or so, breaking down what we saw as a part of the Square Enix Presents just now, and as well we have so much more lined up for the rest of the afternoon. You're going to want to stick around. We've got more from Back for Blood, as well as the Future Game Show and PC Gaming shows. So, you know, I guess you could call this day 2 of E3, but this is the big one. Lots of stuff to talk about, but let's talk about what we just saw as a part of Square Enix Presents. Let's go from the top. Let's go from Guardians. So we talked about it in our pre-show. It's been rumored for a long time, finally made official today. I'm glad that they kind of had it right off the bat, because it is coming out much sooner than I think a lot of people anticipated, but it's coming out in October. So the Deus Ex team, unfortunately not making another Deus Ex, but they are working on Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Phil, what did you think of this one?
I'm into it. I'm a big Deus Ex Human Revolution fan. Mankind Divided less so, but you know, I like what it seems like Eidos Montreal is doing here with the sort of story-based focus and the over-the-top humor. Like, it really feels like they're nailing that tone of what people like about the Guardians of the Galaxy. So it seems like it moves really fast. It seems like it has a lot of fun character moments, and you know, sounds great to me. That's exactly what I like about Deus Ex, and looks like it's mixing together those elements really well.
Yeah, and especially because it has this sort of choice-based gameplay as well. I like the fact that it has kind of Telltale-ish elements too. There's the point where Drax is gonna throw a rocket over a bridge sort of thing, and there is the sort of rocket, we'll remember that, coming up in the top corner, which I kind of liked. I think after Marvel's Avengers coming out, I don't think anyone really anticipated them going just the strict single player route, but they are with this one. It's like a full complete story. Tam, you're my comics guy. This is an original story, but they're taking some well-known and lesser well-known Marvel characters in this one. Who are you excited to see?
Honestly, like, I'm most excited to see the actual team. I mean, I was gonna say the actual team members of the Guardians, but then forgetting that Cosmo was shown in there. Cosmo, the Soviet dog who's got telepath abilities, which is just an incredible pull for that team to grab. Cosmo the dog actually becomes a member of the Guardians, if I remember correctly. So I don't know. Maybe there's a chance. I hope. I did speak to developers behind the team, behind the game at Eidos Montreal, and I asked, like, hey, so are we going to have other Guardians joining? Because Mantis was shown briefly and Cosmo was shown, and they were like, they weren't really clear about it. And I was like, I don't know, man, dog in combat would go down pretty well. And they kind of just smiled and looked at me. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but I've got my fingers crossed for Cosmo in the actual playable role. But yeah, it's looks like general impressions of the game. My preview of it is up now on GameSpot.com, hit video game website. And the thing that I kind of tried to drive home is it feels like the polar opposite of Marvel's Avengers from Crystal Dynamics, where that game came out and it kind of stumbled out of the gate. It didn't really know what it was. People were like, is this a single player game? Is this a multiplayer game? What the hell is this thing? And it was hard to tell for what it was for ages. Whereas this game, it came out like, kicked the door in. They said exactly what it was. We knew exactly how it's going to play. And it's got confidence and it's got a self-assuredness that the Avengers game just absolutely did not have. And I think that went a long way in winning me over. I think I end my preview by likening it quite a lot to Insomniac's game. When Spider-Man came out, it was like they had the swagger. They know exactly what they were doing and they were confident in what they were putting out there. And that's what this kind of feels like. It feels like it's closer to Insomniac's Marvel games than Square Enix's own other Marvel games, or something like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite from Capcom, which was a bit rough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super intrigued by the fact that they are telling their own story, but they are obviously pulling from all over in the Marvel sort of universe. I mean, you've got Lady Hellbender in there, you've got, like you said, Cosmo and Mantis. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see some kind of much more famous faces. But I think as well, the thing that's really intriguing, and I saw a lot of chatter about it online, is that, like, oh, they're not using, you know, the Chris Pratt, Dave Bautista likenesses. They're kind of airing towards more of a comics thing, but then people are complaining that they haven't gone they haven't got swung too far the other way, which is like, wow, there's no middle ground there at all, is there? But I'm intrigued by it. I really like that they're picking from all over, because they're kind of picking up on music as well. Like, music has always been a huge part of Guardians, and the fact that they're having that licensed soundtrack, because just like Tam, I also spoke to the developers, and you will see that interview as a part of Play For All later this week. But yeah, like, they're picking up on the music, and they get to cherry pick from all over Guardians lore, I suppose, which is very exciting to me.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I feel like the smart thing to do is to not tie yourself too closely to the MCU versions. One, because, you know, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Once you start looking like the character from the MCU, people start thinking, why doesn't it sound like that character? That's not what this character would say, etc., etc., etc. And you just, like I said, you set yourself up by failure by trying to evoke too much of another version of that character. And it just makes more sense for Eidos Montreal to define their own versions of the Guardian. I, for one, think the designs are really cool. Like, I really love the way Gamora especially looks. She looks incredible. And Rocket and Drax looks good as well to me. I think the only weird thing that people are probably getting caught up on is Peter's hair, but you'll survive. Don't worry about it. You'll live.
Yeah, and I think as well, I mean, gameplay wise, that's the bit where it looks very, very fast and frenetic, which on the one hand can be a good thing, but I worry about sort of getting a bit lost in it. Like, maybe it's just because I'm playing Mass Effect again at the minute. I'm playing Mass Effect 3 at the minute, and you have squad mates who you control and you can micromanage, and time slows. And I worry with a HUD like that, with the UI, the way they have it, it reminds me a lot of like Dragon Ages, where like there's no wording next to whatever that power is. It's just an image, and I'm gonna have to remember that for 3 other or 4 other members of the Guardians, and I worry about how that's gonna be to play. But I do like the fact that, like there's a stagger meter, and you can have this kind of big sort of finish, like showstopper at the end, I suppose. Phil, what did you take away from the gameplay?
Yeah, so I'm wondering like how independent the other Guardians actually are. Like that was kind of the impression that I was getting from talking with Tam and stuff. It's that you're a member of the team and like you're giving orders, but you're not necessarily controlling everybody. So yeah, like to your point about how those icons are going to work and how all those powers are going to work, it seems like it could be okay if it's not super micromanagey, and if you're just like, Drax, do a Drax thing, and then Drax handles it, right? And so you're worried about Peter Quill, and you're utilizing each of the teammates at the right time, potentially, but not necessarily have to think about what everybody's squad powers all at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that all works.
Yeah, so for me, like the way I thought of it in a lot of ways is Marvel versus Capcom. As always, fighting games are my kind of reference point for most things, but it felt or looked like it could function a lot like the assist mechanic, where you control one character while fighting, and then you tap a button, and all that happens is your backup character jumps in, does a move, and then jumps out. And you use that based on what the attack is to control space or create a juggle situation, that kind of stuff. And it felt like it was kind of moving towards that, where you've got your Peter doing these attacks and that kind of stuff, and oh, there's a character there that I'm almost like done with, but I need them to not run away or anything. So you tap the Groot button, and Groot like does a long range attack to keep them locked down in place, something like that. So it feels a lot like they're kind of like there to behave on their own, and you use their special abilities to your benefit, which if it does work like that, I'm really intrigued to see how good it feels and flows, because it feels like you would, like I said, like that feels like a Platinum Games idea, and I do wonder whether Eidos Montreal can pull it off with the same kind of slickness and kind of like flow to it that I would want out of it.
Yeah, totally. And I'm holding reserving judgment until I actually play it to see how it all feels when it all comes together. I'm genuinely very not even cautiously optimistic. I am very optimistic about this game. I really love the look of it. I love the soundtrack got me. I think whenever I hear Joan Jett, I immediately am like, okay, I'm in. So that's Guardians of the Galaxy, coming out later this year, coming out in October, so not very far long to wait at all. After that, we got the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster.
Ooh, it's gone down like a lead balloon.
Yeah.
I mean, you can basically, the sentiment, here's how to explain the sentiment. The Square Enix USA Twitter account has changed its status to private, so you can't follow it or look at it anymore.
Square USA merged to Square Enix. Like, they just got rid of that.
Are they gone? Everyone is tweeting.
Gone.
I'm like, oh god, what is happening? Is Square Enix okay? Is anyone like relaxed right now? Because holy shit, that stuff is going down like a lead balloon. I think the main issue with it is like it's mobile and Steam, and I don't know, people went in expecting way more out of a kind of reworked Final Fantasy promise. That I think it's the general sentiment, I think, for fans of Final Fantasy is, why do you keep doing these classic games, which are some of the best, so dirty? And it doesn't make any sense why they keep doing it. Like, it's really devaluing the historic impact of Final Fantasy. Some of those stories remain the best Final Fantasy stories to exist, and they somehow both screw up putting the original versions of those out or remaking them into something better. I wish I could like grab someone at Square Enix and shake them and be like, please stop abusing your own franchises like this. They deserve better.
But you can't. I mean,
No,
it's
I can't.
that announcement has not gone down very well. I think especially because they're not going to be on Switch, which everyone seems to think is a huge misstep. So kind of understandable the sort of anger behind that one. We also had a new trailer for Legend of Mana coming out June 24th. So not very long to wait at all for that one. Marvel's Avengers. Now, Phil, have you played any Marvel's Avengers?
So I played a whole lot of Marvel's Avengers right up until like 2 weeks after launch, right? And so I got into it. I really enjoyed that game, especially when it's doing story content. But yeah, I think like just about everybody else, I hit that endpoint and kind of lost interest in the endgame stuff. You know, like it's just not enough content to keep you going. And I would really like to get back into it because I really like what that game does with characters, and the synergy stuff can be cool. It's a fun world to be in, and I think that's pretty much its big strength. And so I want a reason to get back in. That's what I'm hoping for with the Black Panther edition and stuff like that. Like, bring me back. I want to come back. I'm right there. I still have it installed. I didn't pop it up.
Yeah.
So
come play with us.
So-
Come play with us.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the June update, which is the Cosmic Cube, and then a new mission type with Monica controlling the cube. Then there's the July update with Hawkeye, new mission, defeat the Scientist Supreme, and then Summer and Beyond is War for Wakanda. Tam, did you like what you saw of War for Wakanda?
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw, it looked like there was a lot of cool things to check out. Again, my question is, how long will that last? There's only so long before, like, the problem, like I said in the pre-show, was the content that they deliver becomes, you start repeating it extremely fast, and it loses its luster very, very quickly. From what I've seen, like the story style stuff around T'Challa and the Black Panther and that kind of stuff is hooking me in, and I'm a sucker for Marvel stories, especially ones set in Wakanda and kind of like far off regions. So I am excited for that part of it. Again, the question is, how long will you hold my attention for this time? I hope it's longer than the last few drops have been. I'm cautiously optimistic about what's going on. They've been dropping like cool skins and that kind of stuff. So for me, it's been a case of, I still have it installed and I dip in and out, but I'm kind of storing stuff up. So when it does launch, maybe I'll go through and get a bunch of skins and do the Cosmic Cube stuff and the Red Room stuff and the Wakanda stuff and all in one big go. And hopefully that carries me through for a little while. But yeah, I like what I saw so far.
Phil, did you think the War for Wakanda stuff was enough to bring you back? Is it going to be the thing that finally just boots it back up on your PlayStation?
It's definitely the stuff that I'm interested in. It really looks like it's cycling back to that, you know, big story focus kind of idea. And I do feel like that game does that stuff well. It really does kind of have a good understanding of those characters and the way that they interact with each other. And I'm really interested to see that take a new direction and develop more characters, more stories, more villains, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna approach it, I think, cautiously optimistically and kind of see how other people react to it, see if it really is going to be that draw or not, because, you know, it's kind of an investment to get back in and start leveling up and all that stuff. And I kind of forget how that game works, so I have to like put some time in, you know. You get lost in those live games a little bit. So if it's as cool as it looks in the trailers, then yeah, I'm down for sure. But I'm gonna, I think, have to take a minute and make sure that it's really gonna hit those marks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so after the Marvel's Avengers update, we saw a few mobile titles, so brand new Hitman Sniper game. We saw some of Nier Reincarnation, the Final Fantasy Battle Royale, I think it was that one, coming out this year on iOS and Android. But you mentioned live service games there, Phil. And that's teed me up nicely to talk about Babylon's Fall. It was the game that Tam and I were most excited to see more of today in our pre-show. And yeah, Tam did that when they said that it was going to be a live service game. Tam, go on.
Why does everything have to be a live service game? Stop ruining all the good ideas with live service nonsense. I don't know, maybe it's going to be amazing, and I don't know, like Platinum haven't got a live service game, but oh god, there's just something about the kind of points of failure on a live service experience are considerably more than in a standard a standard single player game, or even a multiplayer game, just a straight up multiplayer game. When you introduce live service, the chances of you putting out something that sucks just exponentially increase. Even if you're like one of the best developers around, like Crystal Dynamics is a great studio, but they gave themselves a world of problems by making Avengers a live service game. And the last thing I want from Platinum is a ongoing multiplayer game that is gonna ask me for money every now and then and make me grind for things every now and then. And just, I don't know, it felt like the rug was pulled out from underneath me. I'm sick of live service games at this. I'm oversaturated on live service games. They're just everywhere, and I was looking forward to playing a classic Platinum action game. Some of the most, and between that and the 1-2 punch of very questionable voiceover in that trailer, I was just deflated by the end of it. Having said that, taking a positive stance, Platinum's mechanically, they make the most replayable games around. Their action mechanics, they set out a foundation, they execute on mechanics that are just fun from start to game to finish the game. So if they have created good enough core mechanics to the combat that they can sustain an ongoing multiplayer experience, I'll hold my hand up and be like, fair play, you did the good stuff here. At that point, the question becomes, are they going to monetize the crap out of this? And is the grind going to be unbearable? But I'm willing to give them they've earned the benefit of the doubt, at least. Hopefully the combat is good at its core and it works as a live service game. If it isn't, it's going to be on site with Platinum.
So we don't have long before we're going to throw back to the ESA stream for something very exciting. And I did want us to talk about this while we have the time too. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, which has a demo going live later today, which is playable from today, June 13th, until June 24th. We knew of the rumors that Team Ninja were going to be working on a Final Fantasy game, and we saw in the kind of opening credits that Nomura is involved. And I really struggle to, I don't like ragging on games. I try not to do that, but what was going on with that? What is their problem with chaos? What's their problem with chaos? Is all I want to know.
The thing about chaos
is just mind his own business.
Which means, it means you got to kill chaos, and if you don't kill chaos, then chaos will become chaotic, and then you have chaos in your hands, and that means chaos is everywhere, and so you have to fight the chaos and kill the chaos. So in review, chaos is happening, and you have to kill the chaos. So hopefully you will see the chaos and kill the chaos. Thank you for your time in this presentation about chaos.
I mean, not wrong. Phil, what did you make of Strange? I'm genuinely surprised that the word chaos is not in the title of this game. That's really thrown me off. Phil, what did you make of Stranger of Paradise?
I don't know. I feel like Tam kind of summed it up. It really kind of hit every mark that was in that trailer. No, but seriously, it does. It at least looks fun to play. I don't know anything else. I don't know, it's a lot of cutscenes, a lot of chaos, and to that point, that's not when I go for a Final Fantasy game. I want to be engaged in the world, and that trailer didn't really do it for me. But with Team Ninja, at least it looks like you'll be doing cool stuff with a sword and like turning people into crystals and then headbutting them and they explode and all kinds of weird stuff. So to that end, I don't know. I really enjoyed combat in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that looked a little bit reminiscent to the same thing. So maybe it'll be okay. Maybe I'll be into that. If it's mechanically satisfying, that can go a long way, I suppose, to push through some of that dialogue.
Well, I mean, so that's the thing. When the initial sort of words came up on the screen, didn't I say, "Oh, this has a Kingdom Hearts vibe"? And then like Nomura was involved, and I was like, "Okay, I see how this has come together." And that's the thing. It's like when I was younger, I could push through the dialogue stuff. Like, I mean, Kingdom Hearts, I'm a huge fan. Like, don't even come for me. I love Kingdom Hearts. But sometimes you just have to admit, some of the dialogue's not great. And I think you're much more forgiving of it when you grow up with a franchise, and it's very difficult as an adult who's going to be playing that game to kind of approach it and just sort of agree that, yeah, chaos is bad, man. Like, we should definitely be done with chaos. And so, very intrigued to see more of that. And like I said, the demo's going live today, so maybe it was just a bad trailer, and maybe the actual game itself provides a lot more context. But who knows? We'll have gameplay up of it on GameSpot very soon. We're gonna throw to the ESA in a little bit, and then we're gonna have the Back for Blood showcase. Warner Brothers are showing off Back for Blood, and as we got confirmation in the Xbox and Bethesda event earlier today, that's going to be coming to Game Pass day one when the game launches in October. We'll be here afterwards breaking down everything from that press conference, and then later this afternoon we've got the PC gaming show as well as the future game show, and then at the very end of the day we've got Kurt, Jordan and Phil. You're coming back to sort of wrap up day 2 of E3, so please stick around. Now we're going to head over to the ESA, and then, like I said, it'll be Back for Blood. We'll see you then.
Chaos.
So obviously in True Colors, you've sort of gamified emotions to an extent where, you know, it's actually brought forward into part of the gameplay. What have you done to ensure that there's more subtle emotional impacts of the general story is still being retained?
So in order to do that, we have our town, Haven Springs, where our main character, Alex, is walking around, and she's able to interact with characters all over the town with a range of emotions from fear, sadness, joy, and anger. And the way we visualize this is through what we call emotional auras, which Alex can see around the characters. And then it also allows the player to do the psychic power of empathy to read the character's thoughts and emotions, which allows Alex to connect with them and have side storylines and more emotional connections with the characters.
So on that subject, actually, regarding the emotions and, you know, the connection Alex has with them. So in Before the Storm, sort of in contrast to the other two Life is Strange games, it's a much more grounded experience where you have the only vaguely supernatural element obviously was Chloe's visions of her father. But here you've really thrown yourselves into that Life is Strange element of more supernatural. So why did you decide that was the route to go?
Correct. Yeah, this one is a much more in the supernatural element. When we first started talking about using the power of empathy, we felt that it needed to have a supernatural element to really allow the player to connect with the characters and also give Alex this extra element to use her power of empathy. And the best way to show this was to embrace the supernatural. I feel like it really follows the Life is Strange staple of having a beautiful setting and also this supernatural element on top of it.
So one thing that all of the Life is Strange games, including this one, have in common actually is the primary players are all teenagers. Was that a conscious decision on your part?
It was, but I think, you know, Alex is defined by a lot more than, you know, just her age. She's really a well-rounded character, but we wanted to have a strong female lead, someone that players could really connect with and relate with. And, you know, with her power of empathy, she's just a great character to connect with. And I'm really excited for fans to see her. I think she's going to quickly become a fan favorite.
And then the element of choice in Life is Strange obviously is very important. What's your approach to this in True Colors in terms of is the good choice always clear?
Well, actually, I think that's an interesting question because one of the things we strive for is not always, you know, labeling what is good and what is bad. And I think, you know, in Life is Strange, one of the things that fans really connect with is how dynamic the characters are. You know, characters have elements of good and bad, but we try to stray away from just a good character or an evil character. It's their choice and they can own it, not to be judged or feel like they made the evil choice or the bad choice.
Yeah. Going back to the issue of teenagers. So, I mean, you know, generally speaking, a lot, you know, you could say that during your teenage years, you're more emotionally volatile. Is that something that you're reflecting in the game at all? Because I did have noticed what you've revealed so far. There are, although it's primarily teenage characters, there are some older characters as well. Is that reflected in the way the emotions work at all?
Well, it's interesting because Alex had a very, you know, troubled childhood coming through the foster home. So even though she is a teenager, she's very mature for her age. She's been through a lot. So I think that, you know, emotional volatile that you're talking about, we can actually see in characters of all ages. Even the adults she connects with, they're very volatile in their emotions. So we tried to have, you know, a more realistic approach that even though teenagers may be emotional volatile, even in our adulthood, we still feel those emotions and have a wide range.
I know you've previously spoken a little about how it's a more open game than anything else in the Life is Strange series so far. Any of these optional interactions, do any of those have any of those more impactful than the player might expect? Like a missable character or choice?
So the optional content we really wanted to keep as optional and missable. I think it will impact the user's experience as they might not be able to connect with these characters as much, but if you stay on the critical path and just do the primary interactions, you won't miss any of the key elements of the story. All of the open spaces like you're talking about are really just a way to explore the town, connect with the people, use the power more often, and it could, help as you go on, so you know more about the characters, but you won't be punished for missing any of this content.
So one thing actually I've noticed with Life is Strange, with the Dontnod ones, and also Before the Storm, which also sort of really captured, is it looks and sounds and feels like an indie movie. Like, is that intentional? And if it is, what does that mean for you? How do you capture that?
Absolutely. I think we really try to capture the indie feel because that's the roots of Life is Strange. So for this title, True Colors, we actually worked with a lot of indie artists. So the music's a big element of it. And as far as the visuals, we did a lot of research on, mountain towns. Being out here in Colorado, we had a lot of inspiration. And so we really just try to capture that visual, that cinematic style, and the music. It's a big pillar for what the game is.
And again, so referencing Before the Storm again, although obviously you were allowed a lot of creativity in that, you ultimately had to sort of draw within the lines in that Chloe's character was already established, the ultimate ending, we knew where it was going. But with True Colors, it's your first Life is Strange game with all of your own characters. You have complete control over the story. What were you able to take from Before the Storm to help you prepare for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. For us as Before the Storm, we did use the Chloe character, which was amazing. She was a big favorite of the studio, but at its core, Before the Storm is a love story. It's about relationships. And so with True Colors, we approached it as we wanted a story about empathy. We wanted a story about kindness and connection. So we really started with that as our core, and then we built these characters around it. But we really made sure that all the characters fit into the Life is Strange universe. Like I was saying earlier about dynamic characters, we wanted them to feel realistic, feel dynamic, and have players be able to have a connection with these characters.
And then talking about connection, obviously there's a direct connection between Before the Storm and True Colors in terms of Steph, who crosses over into True Colors. So first of all, I want to ask, of the characters that you had introduced yourself, why Steph? Why bring Steph to True Colors and rather than anybody else?
Yeah, well, I think, working on Before the Storm, I actually worked on that title as well. We all loved Steph. She was a great character. So we were all really excited as a studio to bring her back and to reveal her in Haven Springs. And then I think beyond that, just the connection that her and Alex start to form throughout the title. I'm really excited for fans to see more of Steph. I think there's an element of Steph we all know from Before the Storm, but we're going to learn more about her as a character and who she is and the experiences she's been through. So I just think she's a great fit for the story and just a character that we all love writing and working with.
So it sounds like she'll be a bit more of a forefront then in this one than she was in Before the Storm.
You'll see a decent amount of Steph throughout the game.
Would I be right to assume that True Colors will also have multiple endings?
It will have multiple endings, correct. Yep.
And will the endings depend on like a final choice, as has traditionally been done in the series, or is there something a little further back from the end you can do that will send you down a different path? Like how far back do the roads to the ending diverge?
So yeah, what's really exciting about True Colors is it's actually an element of both of that. Your final choice will reflect the ending, but there's also an element of the relationships you build throughout the game and how you'll see this in the dynamic ending. So I think it's really important as players are going through to build these connections and make these choices. We didn't want a situation where you just get to the end and one decision dictates your experience.
The most recent footage that I've seen goes in a little bit more detail of what happens when Alex comes across a particularly powerful aura. And then obviously there's a little bit of talk about it actually affects the environment. Are you able to go into a little bit more detail about what happens there and how the player explores this altered environment?
Absolutely. So we have different tiers of using the power. There's the one I explained earlier when you're walking around town and you're able to interact with characters, read their emotions, and see their thoughts. And that's what we're calling the frequent use power. As you're walking around, you're able to use it in our free roams and our gameplay. And we also have these major power moments where, like you were saying, there's a really powerful emotional aura. And the way Alex actually absorbs these characters' emotions, and she's able to go into this world that changes the environment and really gain more insight into what that character is going through. So she's able to explore the environment, she's able to look at objects, and all these objects relate to emotional connections that the character she's interacting with has gone through.
From your perspective, and again, now this is the game that you've got the most control over, what are you hoping that players will get out of it?
That's a great question. I think for me personally, I'm really excited for players to see this power of empathy that we're talking so much about. I think especially in these times, it's really important to be able to be kind to each other and understand what others are going through. We use empathy a lot, but what this game really allows is for players to connect with people, see their struggles, see what they're going through, and really understand that people are dynamic and we all have our troubles and we all have our triumphs. And I'm really excited for players to get to know Alex. She's, for me, the favorite character I've ever worked on. And so I'm really excited for players to see her. She's just such an inspiration. And then also to be able to use this power of empathy and hopefully, allow people to take a step back in their life and see others as well in a whole new light.
It should be the first Life is Strange game to be released as a complete package all at once, but it's still split into episodes. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So there will be 5 chapters, as we're calling them right now, but they will all be released together.
Is there anything that you've done in True Colors
anymore at that point? But I will never forget them, for some reason, handing me the badge, putting the lanyard on, and then just walking into the convention hall and just looking up all around me at all of the different booths.
Yeah.
And seeing the big Nintendo booth, and then I think there was Persona 4 Dancing All Night being displayed or something, right?
Yeah.
And then just having Teddy going over here, you want to dance, little girl? And I'm like, okay. That was probably my absolute favorite memory of just being in shock and awe that I was there because, we saw E3 on G4.
Right.
I found E3 from Hey Ash, what you playing? They did a vlog there, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm here. This is it.
Yeah. Well, we don't have a lot of time, but Michael, what about for you?
I grew up watching GameSpot, and I had a 2004 GameSpot DVD where they went around E3. I'm like, damn, it'd be nice to be there. 2017 was my first E3, and I did it for GameSpot, so I bust up in there. I'm like, yo, this is wild, whimsical. I'm doing work, but it's wild to collaborate with the Giant Bomb folks, because we see them in the office, but you go to the Giant Bomb couch, it's wow, this stuff is real. I'm really here. So I'll never forget 2017. It was a lot of work. You realize how much work is put in for folks at GameSpot, IGN. So it's wild.
And Damon?
I'm going to carbon date myself here. My first E3 with IGN was 2006.
Wow.
So I got to go to some of the behind closed door demos. And remember, 2006, PS3 and Wii weren't out yet. 360 was out, but I didn't have one yet. So I was playing PS2, GameCube, original Xbox games. And I got to go to the behind closed doors demos of
E3. It was my first one, but I remember being on that airplane, going to LA and saying to myself, Mama, I made it. It was a great time. But we have so many great stories, not just from us, but also from all of our friends all around the industry. And some of your favorite streamers, as well as influencers all around, had a bit to say about what was their favorite moments from E3.
I'm a criminal.
Well, I could tell you growing up, E3 was the holy grail, right? That was, I mean, it was E3, I'll never make it there. Wow, you went?
In 1999, that was my first E3. I got to see a cool midway basketball cage. I remember that. I believe that was the E3 where they introduced the Dreamcast.
I was in awe at everything. I tried everything. I played Just Dance. The Ubisoft booth was incredible.
They had me just in a roller coaster simulator, and I was bad at that somehow. I don't know what happened.
Probably similar to a lot of the other content creators on this show. We had to sneak in, man. We was little kids. I was in high school.
Nintendo was handing out posters. They handed out a Zelda poster or something, and I was like, yes! And I framed it immediately and put it up on the wall, and I was like, I got that at E3! don't even act like I didn't get it at E3. There it is right there.
The time that I went to my first E3 in 2016, I think I called in sick that day. I was like, you know, you turn on your sick voice. Yeah, I just don't think I'm gonna be able to come in. I'm sorry. I don't work there anymore, so I can't get in trouble for it. So the story's out there now.
It was just so surreal to walk in and see something that I've been watching for so long, and it's there, it's in front of me, and I'm in it.
The cosplays, I loved meeting new friends, I loved the panels, I loved walking on the showroom floor and just seeing all these new things.
It was just unreal, and it really solidified a lot of feelings for me, knowing that I wanted to be in this industry.
I had all this swag on me from one of the halls where I had played a whole bunch of games. And then I get to the next hall because I wanted to go in there and see what it was. It was the one with Sony and Microsoft and also Nintendo. And the dude at the door stopped me and was like, hold on. Let me see your badge. And I was like, whoa. And I showed him the badge. And he said, what's your name? And I forgot the name on the badge.
What's up, everyone? I'm Brian Altano. In today's Fix, we get our first look at Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, Far Cry's most iconic villains are back and badder than ever, and Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hopes has been officially revealed by Ubisoft after Nintendo leaked it themselves yesterday. I'll get to that in a sec, but first, here's my friend Stella with some news about the upcoming Avatar game. Take it away, Stella!
Official, 2022 will be taking us back to James Cameron's epic science fiction world in Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Following a similar announce, then delay, then wait forever precedent set by the Avatar movie sequels, we first heard about this game 4 years ago. Based on what we saw in today's Ubisoft Forward presentation, it looks like this action-adventure game is set in a first-person open world, featuring the Western Frontier, a part of the planet not previously seen, home to the franchise's signature living, reactive alien biome. While the game stars new characters, it's clear from the trailer that it's still humanity and mechs versus the Na'vi and the wonders of nature, with a strong focus on air combat. Somewhere, Max Scoville is thrilled by this news. Developed by Ubisoft's massive entertainment studio, Frontiers of Pandora promises to utilize the Division Snowdrop engine to expand and deepen the Avatar universe in exciting and innovative ways along with the films. Massive reportedly worked in partnership with James Cameron's production company and Disney, which could mean a game very close to the world of Pandora that we know, and different from Massive's other titles, notably Tom Clancy's The Division, and an upcoming open-world Star Wars game. The game is being developed for next-gen consoles and PC, and yes, this is what we got instead of Beyond Good and Evil 2. At long last, my dream of delivering Far Cry 3's famous insanity speech myself is coming true. As previously leaked, Far Cry 6's upcoming DLCs will explore one of the Far Cry series' most enduring elements, the villains. The DLC Season Pass will let you play as Vas Montenegro from Far Cry 3, Pagan Min from Far Cry 4, and Joseph Seed from Far Cry 5. All three previous villains were shown along with surreal first-person gameplay seemingly set in worlds that exist within each big bad's terrifying mind. All three charismatic characters seem to be surprised by the fact that they're present, but happy nonetheless to be back causing havoc. And so are we. That's not all for Far Cry 6's Season Pass, it will also include Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon in some form. This much-loved 2013 standalone expansion for Far Cry 3 featured a retro-futuristic world and parodied many 1980s action genre elements. Ubisoft and Ari Shankar recently announced a Netflix animated series spin-off called Captain Laserhawk: A Blood Dragon Remix, so it's a somewhat surprisingly good time for Blood Dragon fans.
Thanks, Stella. I cannot wait for Far Cry. Speaking of colorful games full of terrifying villains and nightmare animals, the Rabbids are back, and they're teaming up with the iconic Italian plumber Super Mario once more in Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope, officially coming to Nintendo Switch in 2022. We actually got an early look at the game yesterday ahead of Ubisoft's conference when Nintendo themselves leaked the game on their official website. How dare you, Nintendo? It wouldn't be a Mario and Rabbids game without a leak happening. That's part of the tradition at this point. Either way, the first game was surprisingly awesome and also a sales hit, so here's hoping the next one is even better, even if Rabid Rosalina is one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my entire adult life. Anyway, with E3 now in full swing, what are you looking forward to most? Are there any games you're hoping to see on stage? Let us know in the comments below. I'm Brian Altano, and that was your Daily Fix. Now that you're all caught up in the news, make sure to check out the rest of our E3 coverage on YouTube, across social media, or even on your smart TV. Download the IGN app on all your mobile devices, and subscribe to the IGN Daily Fix on Snapchat for all things, everything else video games, E3, and scary-ass Rabbids. IGN.com. Thanks for watching.
篝火营地是中国领先的游戏媒体，创立于2018年，致力于为全世界的中文游戏玩家提供专业、精准、迅速的资讯情报。篝火营地立足于中国，与多家国际一流游戏媒体同行达成正式内容合作关系，源源不断地将最新鲜的游戏资讯第一时间带给全球中文游戏玩家。自成立以来，篝火营地在全网的内容浏览量已经超过5亿，服务了数百万的读者和玩家。我们的愿景是做游戏文化传播者。您可以在全球各大手机应用市场下载篝火营地 APP， 或者访问3w.gamebonfire.com 来加入游戏传播者的行列。
As a part of Play for All, GameSpot will be bringing you the latest gaming news and announcements, interviews with developers, the biggest press conferences, and lots more. Play for All is our yearly online event that combines the excitement and announcements of E3 with charity live streams the following week, with lots of special guests who are going to help us raise money for able gamers. So join us in June for E3 and Play for All on GameSpot.com, YouTube.com/GameSpot, Twitch.tv/GameSpot, and as a part of E3's official broadcast. See you then.
And a big thank you to our sponsors at DoorDash. Get more from your neighborhood, from restaurants and convenience to grocery and corner stores. All right. We got a lot to talk about, sir.
We do.
Back for Blood. I don't think we said that together.
We have to. I mean,
Yeah.
Back for Blood's all about cooperation, getting out there, be the cleaners, take on the ridden.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to Damon, and I was like, "Oh, you used to kick Greg's butt
Oh, I
in
saw.
Left 4 Dead," and he
Yeah.
was like, "No, we played together." And
That's
I was
what
like,
we do. We're a team, right? That was the Game
"Aw."
Scoop squad, ladies and gentlemen. We weren't
Aw.
tearing each other apart. We were tearing up them zombies in Left 4 Dead,
Yeah.
which is why I'm so stoked to see Turtle Rock return to this and come out and do Back for Blood. And so, yeah, we're on the precipice of this presentation. What's interesting, if you're not over on Twitter keeping up with there, they just put up a post that I think is interesting, explaining more of their online content and keeping the squad together, as they said. They're going to do it that if the party leader has content for PvE, which means, of course, if they've bought something, it'll be available to the entire party. So if you want to do an expansion, not everybody has to own it, just party leader does. And then for PvP, the question was, how do you keep it from being pay to win? They're doing a thing where all the PvP additional content you can get for free by progression. So you could pick it up by, cosmetics, unlock it right away, but if you want to, you can earn it for free in the game too, which is a great look.
You know what's been really interesting to me about Back for Blood is that, with some games we see them trickling just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Black Panther. That was kind of happening.
way too
Sorry, I know
soon.
that
That's way
stings.
too
I
soon,
apologize. I apologize. But Back 4 Blood is the exact opposite. They're like, yo, we want you to know exactly what this game is about. We have gotten very long descriptions about all the cleaners. We've gotten a very inside look at the Ridden as well. And I have absolutely loved everything that I've seen. The cleaners are extremely varied in abilities, but I'm gonna be quiet because
it's almost time.
It's time.
That's the thing. Everything I've seen has been a PvE thing, which is why I like it. So let's talk about PvP. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the Back 4 Blood showcase.
You know, there was a little while ago when WB Games had reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to be a part of the reveal of Back 4 Blood, and I knew what it was, and I was so excited about what this game is, and it's the reason why that I'm so stoked for everyone at home to enjoy this. So coming up next, WB Games is throwing you smack in the middle of the action with their gore fest shooter, Back 4 Blood. So grab your weapon of choice, because here is WB Games, Back 4 Blood.
Thanks, Golden Boy. Hello and welcome to the Back 4 Blood PvP Showcase. If you don't already know, Back 4 Blood is an upcoming 4-player co-op zombie shooter made by the creators of Left 4 Dead. Today we're diving deeper into the new PvP mode called Swarm, how it works, and what you'll be doing, maybe even a little bit of strategy. We'll also talk with Turtle Rock's lead game designer on Back 4 Blood, Brandon Yanez, to help piece it all together. Before we get there though, let's start off with the reveal of a brand new PvP trailer and see what it's like in action.
One down. When I was young, I climbed up too high just to touch the sun. Back off! On my mission, no prescription, shoot for number one. Start a riot, won't keep quiet. I'm surrounded. Heart is pumping, keep it coming. Better run. Help!
This is what happens when you don't stick together.
I was born for this. I'm a monster, I'm a hunter, let my demons show. Hold on tight. Keep pushing them back. Hit the gas and go. Now I never live forever. I'ma take what's mine. Heart is pumping, keep it coming. Got the running high. Feel that fever, lightning strikes. Dangerous like dynamite.
Here they come!
That looked intense. So there you have it, guys. Back 4 Blood's PvP mode Swarm. To hear more about it and to take a deep dive into the gameplay and the mechanics, we have Turtle Rock's lead game designer on Back 4 Blood, Brandon Yanez. Brandon, can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration of this new PvP mode and what makes it fun and unique?
Of course, so just like our previous titles, we really enjoy bringing new ideas to the table while retaining the spirit of the genre that we're working in. So Back 4 Blood's PvP is heavily inspired by our previous titles that mix survival, fast action, massive monsters, and a touch of horror. So our goal is to make a balanced and fun PvP mode with just as much replayability as the main campaign.
So what's the structure of the PvP like? Do you play in rounds? Can you play as both cleaners and Ridden in one match, or are we swapping between the two?
Yeah, so it's played as a best-of-3 match. Teams of 4 take turns swapping between the Ridden and Cleaner players. The job of the Cleaners is to scavenge supplies, find a good place on the map to fortify their position, and try to last as long as they can. Okay. The Ridden's main objective is to kill the Cleaners as fast as they can. So this is achieved by choosing the right Ridden to counter the other team's strategy, using mutation upgrades, and by coordinating attacks with other AIs and players. As the round progresses, the swarm moves in, so this increases the size of the ridden attacks and shrinks the playable space, sometimes forcing the cleaners out of their favorable positions, right? So when a cleaner team is wiped from the field, the points are scored for how long they survive. Then both teams swap, and then they go at it from the other side. The team that runs the clock the longest as the cleaners is the winner.
Now, I understand you can play as all the different cleaners in both co-op and PvP. Do you have a favorite character that you play as?
So I have a couple. I play Mom a lot. She's a badass with a sawed-off shotgun. She adds a lot of survivability to the team. She can also instantly help teammates that have fallen during battle. All of our cleaners have special perks, so that one is hers.
Let's jump into another trailer that goes a little more in depth on the Ridden's progression through PvP. Check it out.
Intestinal discharge! Ah, shit!
What's up, Stinger?
Okay, so Brandon, we just saw that each different Ridden has their own variants as well as their own mutations on each variant. So can you expand a little more on these special abilities and how they work?
Sure. So at the start of each round, players can choose between 9 playable Ridden, each with their own unique abilities. So for example, the Stalker can pounce a player and pull them away from their team, or an Exploder can time their detonation in the middle of a group of cleaners and fling them all in separate directions.
Now, knowing that each Ridden has these different abilities, how do they change and improve throughout a match and improve the Ridden's chance of winning?
So as the Ridden battle against the cleaners, they gain points. They can spend these points on team-wide upgrades called mutations. Mutations upgrade and improve a lot of different things on the Ridden side, from adding effects to their abilities. They might buff the common AI waves in size and strength. So the really cool thing is so they affect the whole team, and they persist between rounds. So as a Ridden team starts to coordinate their upgrades, things can get pretty wild.
What are some strategies that the Ridden team can take on in order to get a leg up on the competition?
If the cleaners are really sticking together, you can swap to the Wretch and vomit on their location. That's going to cause them to spread out, right? This is going to open up a whole bunch of opportunities for your other Ridden players to attack, right? So if you get them to spread out and there's a Stalker nearby, Stalker uses the Chaos to grab one of the cleaners and drag them off into the swarm. The Wretch's vomit also slows their victims, so if a tall boy who's naturally pretty slow can attack one of those slowed characters, they're going to really be able to pummel them. Another good one is if an Exploder waits for a cleaner to go revive their friend, they can use that as an opportunity to charge in and detonate on them, sending them flying and doing a massive amount of damage.
Whew, sounds pretty brutal. So with that being said, which is your favorite Ridden to play as?
That has to be the tall boy. It's pretty easy to pick up and play, and I have a lot of fun hitting cleaners across the map.
Speaking of fun, let's talk about weapons. Now, throughout the trailers, you can see a number of different weapons. Can you go a little deeper into what those weapons are and how they work?
So we really wanted to expand on the amount of choices the player had in Back 4 Blood with their weapon. So of course there's handguns, shotguns, LMGs, SMGs, sniper rifles, and a whole bunch of other types of weapons, each with sort of like a unique character feel to them.
Now, how deep does this weapon customization go? I really want to know. What are some of the different attachments and options, and how do they change the gameplay overall?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of different customization options for your weapons. So throughout the world, you can find scopes, silencers, stocks, sights, all that good stuff. You can mix and match them, so there's a ton of options.
Last question. Do you have a favorite type of weapon?
Absolutely. So as I said earlier, I really enjoy playing Mom, so her shotgun is definitely at the top of my list.
Ah, that's a solid choice. All right, we've learned a little bit about how it all works, the cleaners, the ridden, the mutations, as well as how the customization works for the weapons. Thank you so much for joining me, Brandon, and for giving us a little bit more detail on Back 4 Blood's new PvP mode, Swarm.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait for everyone to get their hands on this game. We're all really excited.
I can't wait either. The good news is that you guys won't have to wait too long. There's an open beta coming up on August 12th with an early access portion on August 5th available to those who pre-order. That's all for today, but Back 4 Blood still has a lot more to reveal in the coming months, so stay tuned. Bye.
Welcome back to GameSpot at E3 2021. We just got a look at some Back 4 Blood there. So to talk us through it, we've got Timur Hussein.
Hello, I'm back for blood.
Did you have a coffee in the middle of that presentation?
I did.
And Phil Hornshaw.
Hey.
You did not match the energy, but honestly, I respect
didn't.
it.
I'm
It
not
is-
gonna. It's like.
Fine.
It's tired of
To
me.
be yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like 10 p.m. over here. But we got to take a look at Back 4 Blood there, the brand new game from Turtle Rock Studios. And as we saw earlier this morning, it's going to be day one Game Pass when the game launches on October 12th. There's also going to be an open beta. I'm not even going to look at the chat for this because I am going to get ripped to shreds for saying beta, but that starts August 4th or 5th if you sign up, if you pre-order the game. So we got a little bit of information there with our friend Naomi Kyle hosting that little info section where they talked a little bit about the ridden, the cleaners, as well as like how the swarm gameplay is going to work, as well as how upgrades, etc. Are going to be working in the game. But Phil, I'm going to come to you because you've actually played some Back 4 Blood. When did you play it? What state was it in? And how did you find it?
So I played way back in like December, back when the game was first announced. And so we didn't play any of the PvP stuff. Haven't had a chance to try any of that, but I'm really into what I've seen. It's very much Left 4 Dead, brought forward into sort of the modern era of multiplayer stuff. It's bringing in a lot of really great ideas from areas like Battle Royale. It feels like, you know, that sort of quality of loot, lots of different weapons, getting attachments. The longer you survive, the further out you explore, the more cool stuff you get. And the game's really good about making those things work together with that sort of Left 4 Dead core underpinning, right? So, like, I played a ton of Left 4 Dead when it first came out. I played a ton of Left 4 Dead 2 when it first came out. But at the same time, like, eventually I kind of fell out of both because as different as they could be run to run, they were always more or less kind of the same, right?
Mhm.
And what I think that Back 4 Blood is doing really well is working in all these little elements, these sort of roguelike bits with like its deck building and stuff like that, that make a lot more variation in any given match. And so what I played, I really enjoyed. We got rolled a lot in the end of it because it's, you know, a 4-act structure and you get to the end, the hardest one, and we just got completely demolished. But it was cool the way we got completely demolished, you know. It was different every time. So I'm into all that, and PvP was kind of one of the big questions that I had at the time, and I'm really excited to see all of this because really my favorite part of Left 4 Dead was that sort of underdog feeling of being the zombies and trying to coordinate in order to outsmart the much stronger and like better equipped player team. And this looks like, from what I'm gathering from what we just watched, it really looks like that's where they're leaning to. They're getting that same original feeling from Left 4 Dead of like, you have to work together if you want to be effective at all, but you have to come up with like really smart ways to use your powers. And now we're just seeing a whole bunch more options and like a lot more strategy in that. And totally exactly what I want from Left 4 Dead. I think that Turtle Rock has really shown that they're very good at that kind of thinking, especially with Left 4 Dead and also with like Evolve. And it seems like it's really taking that core idea and stretching it out in really cool ways. So yeah, I'm really excited for this one because I really want to get back in there with some teammates and rip some people to shreds, just jump from across the map, land on somebody, carry them off, and just ruin their day. That's my favorite thing.
Tam, what did you take from this presentation?
Yeah, it sounds really dismissive, but it looks like Left 4 Dead, and that's enough for me. Obviously, the world has changed in a significant way since Left 4 Dead first came out. You know, as a community, we're closer together, and things like Discord exist. Online play is way better. Communication via console services and PCs is considerably better. So I remember playing Left 4 Dead in a time when that stuff wasn't as slick as it is now, and having just the absolute best time with that stuff. So the idea of playing a game like this, even if they just re-released Left 4 Dead, I guess, in an improved version, would have been enough for me. But the amount of thought that they're putting in bodes incredibly well. Like one of the things that I'm most interested in seeing a little more of, and it's not something they're making a big deal of, but they did when they were making Left 4 Dead, is the idea of an AI director. That's something that I would love to know if they have talked to you about, Phil. The idea that there's almost like an algorithm or like an AI that's hanging out and kind of manipulating events in the background to make it as challenging and as interesting as possible always. Did you get a good sense of that, Phil?
It's exactly the same thing. It's exactly what you want it to be. So, for instance, we played the same map 2 or 3 times, partially because we got killed. But the director totally changed the situation on us like 2 or 3 different times, right? So the first time we came out of the safe room, nothing around, not a big deal. We're going through all these like outbuildings and stuff. We're finding all kinds of good gear. We found like a locked door that's like a special locked door. You have to find a key, I think it was, somewhere around in the area. So there's like a lot of interesting exploration elements in that one. We died. And then we restarted, and the second time, first thing out of the door, the ground rips open. This huge 20-foot tall ogre guy comes out, and he's just like turning it into a run for your life. And it's the exact same portion, but the director apparently thought we needed to be challenged more, despite the fact that we got run over. So it just, it created a completely different situation. And the other thing that the game does with the director is it has a deck too, kind of like you do as you're building out your perk card deck. There's that whole like deck building aspect of it. The director throws a couple of cards out every single time, so you know vaguely what you're going to be running into. It might be like fog, it might be enemies that have armor, because all the SWAT guys got eaten by the parasites as well. So you get a bit of a sense of what you're facing. It's not totally random, but there are a lot of things that the AI is definitely like actively tweaking, and they can be small things and they can be huge things, like a giant zombie thing coming after you. So yeah, it seems like they're, again, like those great ideas from Left 4 Dead are all sort of here in an updated fashion, and they seem like they work just as well as they did back when those 2 games came out. It was pretty exciting, and we had a pretty good time.
So we've obviously talked a lot about the influences of Left 4 Dead on Back 4 Blood, but obviously Turtle Rock did kind of spin off on their own for a while, and they made Evolve. And Evolve had a lot of great ideas. It was kind of at this point where asynchronous multiplayer was in vogue, really, like back in, was it 2013, 2014 when it launched? I remember there being quite a lot of asynchronous multiplayer stuff, and Evolve had some great ideas. But I think it was ultimately hampered, by like its frankly bizarre pre-order stuff. I remember there was a lot of hey, which edition do you get, and which monster, and which unlockables, etc., etc. But ultimately as well, just like the player base wasn't necessarily there, and that was a game that probably could have benefited from being on Game Pass. So is there anything that you think Turtle Rock have also taken from their experience working on Evolve?
When we looked at the PvP just now, that kind of gave me the same sort of sense, is that, you know, what made Evolve cool when you were playing as the monster were all the different ways that you could kind of customize that experience, and like, you know, you were running around trying to make yourself better, so that you could be a more effective fighter. And it seems like those same ideas are kind of there in the PvP side too. It's like, but more teamwork involved, which is cool, where you're thinking about your evolutions and stuff to make yourself better as a team. And that's all really interesting to me. And it seems like the right takeaways from Evolve, because you get to do it with a team. That said, like you mentioned, all the pre-order stuff, that's, if there's a thing that has given me pause, that's a little bit of what it is. That sort of long-term multiplayer idea of like, okay, how do you monetize this, but also how do you keep the player base together? How do you keep people playing? How do you make it so that it's not a situation where if you don't come into the game 6 months from launch to the first 6 months, you're not like totally bounced out by it. And, you know, I think that was Evolve's major problem. That was a great game. I loved that game. I played so much of it before launch. After launch, you know, I think that, like you said, there wasn't really the player base and people couldn't really figure it all out, right? And so I'm really hoping that this finds a way to make sure that everybody is on the same page. They did just mention that team leaders, when they have paid content, everybody else will get the same paid content in a match, which is great. But I hope that there are other ways to keep everybody like connected and playing on the same field, because Evolve really deserved to be a bigger deal, I thought, than it ever became. And it was, I really just think it was that trying to navigate that whole business side of it kind of doomed it in the early days of this sort of live game idea. So I'm really hoping that Back 4 Blood figures that out, because I really love these long-term, you know, weirdo team-based multiplayer experiences. They get so cool. They offer so many interesting, unique experiences. Evolve was really great about that. Left 4 Dead was really great about that. This looks like it's going to be great about it too.
Yes, I mean, you mentioned, and actually we have the sort of wording from Turtle Rock themselves. They've said in PvE, so in PvE, if your party leader owns a paid content drop, you will be able to play that content with them, including maps, gameplay, and campaign. That means like no separation, no exclusion, no split. And they kind of followed up with, in PvP, everyone who bought Back 4 Blood can get access to all additional PvP content. So that's unclear if you're getting it through Game Pass, but it's everyone who bought. Even without purchasing content drops. Players who don't buy the content drops can earn new playable characters and ridden in PvP for free through progression. Additionally, all PvP players have access to the same cards at the start of each match, regardless of whether those players have purchased content drops or not. So it seems like they definitely are thinking about it and trying to level the playing field for everyone. And I hope in doing so, you're kind of going to get that balance that you want, where it's people who just drop in because their friends are playing, and then there are the hardcore players who are going to play frequently, will buy every content drop as it's available to, you know, obviously keep the game going. But I'm excited to see what the future is for Back 4 Blood. I think it's bright. I hope that the Game Pass announcement will have the same effect as it did for Outriders, like we were talking about. I want to say earlier today, it could have been a week ago, could have been yesterday. We were talking about how Outriders sort of maintained sort of a steady level of interest, and then you could see the spike when they announced that it was going to be on Game Pass. And I hope it's the same for Back 4 Blood, is that like, it felt like there was always this audience for it, but now that it's being opened up to so many more, he's hoping that that works out. So for the rest of today, that was obviously our Back 4 Blood post-show. We have the PC Gaming Show, which will be streaming right here, as well as the Future Game Show. And then Phil, you're back with Kurt and Jordan at the end of the day to wrap up E3 Day 2. We've got a few moments before we go to the PC Gaming Show, so I want to know from the two of you, what's been your highlight from the day? Tam, for you, I will say all of E3, because I know what your highlight is. Go on.
It's Elden Ring, baby. It's Elden Ring. All day, every day. Still undefeated as best trailer of E3. Nothing's come close. Elden Ring, game of E3. E3's not even over yet, but it's Elden Ring. Minimal chaos, maximal fun.
I was going to say, I felt like we definitely got cut off while we were talking about all of the chaos to come from the Square Enix show. Phil, what about you? What have you loved seeing at E3 so far?
You know, I have having a hard time picking any one thing out of that Xbox showcase. I was really just excited to see Microsoft come out with just a great lineup of stuff that I want to play on Game Pass and on the Xbox Series X that frankly I have not given a lot of attention to, and I kind of feel bad about that. You know, I forget the name now, but the new one from Playdead is like extremely right up my alley. Somerville, thank you. And you know, I was a huge fan of Inside and Limbo, and I was like, okay, great, that sounds awesome. But there was a handful of other cool indies in that whole showcase. I don't really know if I can pick any given one. I had a really good time watching that. That really felt like E3 in a way that I don't know that yesterday quite reached, you know? Like that whole Xbox showcase was just like top notch, perfect. And then the Halo stuff. Halo looked great in motion, like in the PvP. That might be it. I think I'm going to go with Halo because, you know, I've been a Halo player since Xbox launched. You know, I'm old and I played it with all my friends in high school. We used to cart around CRT TVs to each other's houses so that we could do like the System Link LAN parties. So like good, fast new Halo is really doing it for me. And this grapple hook looks like it's going to do something for Halo that I've always kind of wanted, which was to speed it up just a little bit. It was something that I really liked about Reach when it added all the armor powers and stuff that like you could sprint and maybe you weren't going to get sniped by that guy all the way across the map who's 12 and has really good Twitch reactions. And, you know, Master Chief like moves like he's underwater a lot of the time. So having that grapple hook looks like it's going to speed it up in a way that really is exactly what I like about FPS shooters in multiplayer, but also capturing that Halo feel that, you know, I miss it bad. So yeah, I'm really into that. That looks really great.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really digging what I saw of Halo today. Even though I personally am not like a big Halo player, I've played Halo, like you and I and our friend Simon were playing through Halo last summer when we were all sort of locked inside. We were playing through Master Chief Collection. I think overall, I mean, from Ubisoft, I don't know. I'm trying to think what there was that really kind
Ubisoft?
of caught my eye.
At Ubisoft, I don't know if there was anything like amazing.
I think it was kind of like more of a slightly more predictable, I think, showcase for Ubisoft, and so it was kind of like a soft sort of launch to E3 official. I agree with you, Tam, that I think Elden Ring as a part of Summer Game Fest looked incredible. We already have a break.
Yeah, I was gonna say like from Microsoft replaces. I think that looks so good. Like those are the two games that I'm like, those are the two things that I'm like looking at like, oh, those are awesome.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like there are way more showcases to come, but I think like Elden Ring in particular it was kind of like exactly what you want from a FromSoft trailer. I think it really upped the ante in a lot of ways, and just already the speculation is as to what this game could possibly be, and the fact that it's coming way sooner than we originally, I guess, thought it would. Ubisoft was kind of like a fairly straightforward press conference for me, not really many huge standouts. I think the Avatar game, perhaps, I mean, like, it certainly looked beautiful, but as we were saying yesterday, I don't remember anything about Avatar. So that'll probably be one that has to sort of really work to get me more interested in it. And then from Xbox today, I think Xbox had a really, really strong showing. And I think the real winner, Xbox Game Pass, we've been saying it through Generation Next, through Console Crew. Every time they talk about Game Pass, it's unbelievable just how good that service is. And the fact that, you know, Xbox has that in their cap to kind of go, look at all these games we're bringing to this service. Oh, and by the way, day one, they'll be on the service, and you can just download them and play them, which is really cool. But I think in terms of like the actual games, Redfall Obviously, I am a huge fan of Arcane, and yes, we didn't see any of Deathloop today, to be expected, given that it is a PlayStation 5 console exclusive for a while. I'm really glad we got to see something new, because obviously that's the talented team that Leon is doing Deathloop, but what have Austin been up to? And we finally got answers to that. And then from Square, I really, really love the look of Guardians. We talked about it earlier. Guardians just looks like a breath of fresh air. It looks fun, funny in particular. Like, I think that's a really difficult thing for games to nail, is to be funny. And I think from what I saw of Guardians and from speaking to the team, they're definitely a focus for them. And then, yeah, I think Halo as well. And as you can tell, I'm losing my voice, which is probably a sign that this is Tam and I done for the day. But we will have, like I said, Phil, Kurt, and Jordan will be back after Future Game Show and after PC Gaming to kind of run through, wrap up the day. We'll be back again tomorrow with all of the biggest press conferences from E3. Obviously, we've got Nintendo and Bandai as well on Tuesday. So fingers crossed for some Breath of the Wild 2 news. I don't know anything, but I really, really hope. So thank you for watching today. We're going to pass over to the PC Gaming Show. Have a great time and stay tuned to GameSpot.
Beware of chaos.
Space Year 2021. Having spent the last 12 months hunkered down and definitely not hiding in a subterranean bunker, our heroes have fled Earth aboard a spacecraft with one purpose. To bring you the hottest trailers, to bring you the best interviews, to bring you the PC Gaming Show.
Situation cleanses.
Sean!
Situation
Sean!
cleanses. Situation
Do something!
cleanses.
Do
Situation
something!
cleanses. Countdown to the extinction of human race begins now.
Oh, Deadbot, no! We have so much to live for. I'm pretty sure Half-Life 3 is going to be announced this year!
4, 3, 2.
It is so good to be back, gang, and this year, we're in space!
Aye, aye, Captain.
Happy to be remotely on board, Sean.
Well, I'm so glad you were able to finance this year's PC Gaming Show by, you know, selling all those black market graphics cards you've been hoarding.
Ah, yes, a crime with absolutely no real-world consequences. Hey, Frankie, wait a minute. Is that a 65-ton catapult mech model CPLT-C1 as featured in MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries?
Sean, I always knew you had immaculate taste. It most certainly is.
I can't wait for this year's significantly more weaponized PC Gaming Show to go off without a hitch. Which reminds me, Debbot, can you run a quick hitch scan?
Yes, Sean. Of course, Sean. Running hitch scan.
Oh, and I also want to warmly welcome someone new to the crew. Mika Burton, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and look forward to bringing all of you fresh new PC games and hardware.
Hitch scan complete. 0 hitches found presently or in 13,908,665 possible futures.
Hooray!
Yeah!
So what's the plan, Cap?
Well, Frankie, Debbot's gonna send you the coordinates for your first target, now. Your targets might be exclusive interviews, trailer premieres, or any number of amazing new computer games to beam down to the fine people on Earth.
Mission received.
Now, this is gonna continue until all the targets are acquired and our mission is completed smoothly and without a hitch. Isn't that right, Debbot?
Yes, no hitches located, Sean. Not a single hitch in sight.
But first, let's teleport down to the stage to check in on E3 happenings. The only reason we're allowed to legally be back on Earth.
Oh, planet Earth.
Oh, great to be back, right? Am I right?
One of my favorite planets in the whole galaxy.
It's all right.
And thank God that teleporter was conveniently built just out of frame of camera. Mika, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the PC Gaming Show 2021. It feels great to be back on a live stage once again. Over the next 90 minutes, we're going to bring you a showcase of some of the most exciting upcoming PC titles with world premieres and exclusive interviews.
And if dozens of new trailers wasn't enough for you guys, later in the show, we are going to tell you how to win a custom MechWarrior 5 themed PC powered by Intel. So you're going to want to stick around for that.
Now, make sure to keep out a special look for a special promo code throughout the show from Humble Bundle, during which you can get a ticket to get Civilization 6 Platinum Edition for just $10. But right now, we're going to kick things off with Nautica Blade Point, probably the most original entry in the Battle Royale genre this year. Let's go!
You are watching the 2021 PC Gaming Show, and I am the new cloud-based deadbot. I am streaming from GeForce Now, NVIDIA's cloud gaming service that connects PC gamers like you to their own library of games, purchased from digital stores like Steam and the Epic Games Store. Coming up, Dying Light 2 and Orcs Must Die 3. But first, a trailer for Humble Games' Dodgeball Academia. And be sure to check out GeForce Now, currently available for PC, Mac, Shield, Android, Chromebook, and iOS. Visit GeForceNow.com to learn more.
Finally, I've made it. My time is now. I will become the best player this school has ever seen. Dodgeball Academia, here I come.
Make sure to check out Dodgeball Academia, out soon from Humble Games. Ooh, that was sweet! Don't you agree, DevBot?
Sure, whatever you say, Sean. I agree with whatever you say.
I'm sensing a little bit of resentment there, buddy. Has something rusted your ports?
Nothing. I am happy to play second fiddle to a captain as charming and handsome as you. I have also definitely not dedicated multiple cores to computing revenge plans in a range of lethalities.
Great!
New target acquired, Cap. It looks like Chivalry 2 with a special word from Steve Piggott, CEO and creative director of Torn Banner Studios.
Hey guys, Steve Piggott, founder of Torn Banner Studios and creative director on Chivalry 2, which just launched 5 days ago. I'm so happy to be here at the PC Gaming Show. Chivalry 2, if you don't know, is a first-person slasher, which is like a first-person shooter, except instead of guns and grenades, you've got swords, battle axes, longbows, and players are fighting it out on these huge 64-player battlefields. It's all about creating those epic sword-fighting duels that you see in medieval Hollywood movies, and also that huge clash, the Battle of the Bastards kind of chaos and carnage. So the post-launch support plan is going to look like a mixture of mid and massive level content updates coming out across this year. One of the things we're most excited about is taking it to different eras in the medieval period. Before we've done the early period, now we're going closer to the later period in the upcoming update where you're going to get a bit more refined medieval armors and refined atmospheres that you can then go in and tarnish it and smear blood all over. But we really want to take players into different experiences and make each of our maps its own game mode and make it something that medieval army would actually do when they go into a space. And when you come across these pristine gardens and this beautiful castle, you get to tear it all down and cause it's a canvas for your destruction.
Slay them all!
Our passion for Chivalry 2 is basically bottom line. It's the game that got us onto the scene and started the company, and it's the game that's going to take us so much further. With the post-launch plan for Chivalry 2, the game at launch is a foundation. It's the first TO map that's coming out post-launch. Galencard is going to take us to the high medieval times or the late medieval times. It really captures the Agathian ideals of being this noble, rich, wealthy place where the prosperous live.
You're going to feel like you're sieging the Tower of London if it was on a port where ships could dock into. You'll also be blowing up a couple ships, which is fun. We've got a ton of weapons coming in at launch, but there'll be more and more added to it post-launch as well.
A new fighting style is really going to change up the experience and change how you have to fight everyone. Post-launch content is something that we're going to be working on for a long time. The game is really going to at least double in size for free.
Oh yeah!
Next up, we have an exciting look at Dying Light 2, and make sure to stick around to find out how you could win a custom Mech Warrior PC from our friends at Intel.
Hi, my name is Piotr Szymanek. I'm narrative director in Dying Light 2, Stay Human. Today, especially for the viewers of the PC Gaming Show, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the Dying Light universe. So, stay tuned. Every tragedy begins somewhere. This one started with a virus that escaped from Haran, the city we met in the first part of the game, and it reached the whole world, including the city where Dying Light 2 takes place. Remember January 6, 2025. That day, later known as Black Monday, the military ordered chemicals to be dropped on the city. It was a mistake, a huge mistake. The chemicals mixed with water penetrated the soil, killing plants, turning most people into bloodthirsty monsters. Don't think of them as zombies though. They are more like half-alive, suffering people who attack everything that lives as a result of their pain and rage. Those who survived the chemical raid took refuge on the rooftops. A new order has been born in the city. People live on rooftops, monsters in the streets. Nobody in their right mind would dare to come down. Well, let's say almost nobody. The exception is the main character of Dying Light 2, Aiden. But why is he braver than others? How did he develop such a unique parkour and combat skills? Believe me guys, I would gladly answer all these questions, but I'm not here to spoil it for you. Let me tell you one thing.
Same nightmare haunts me every night. I'm locked up with other kids. I don't know what he did to me, but he did it every day. Over and over. Looking for something he couldn't find. The worst part was that he did the same to my sister. I'll never forget her scream when they separated us. What could I do? They had rifles, and we were 5 years old. And there was a fire, explosions, chaos. I got away. Soldiers took me out of the city, but my sister stayed there. My Mia. I left her.
We meet Aiden as one of the many children undergoing mysterious medical research. The last thing Aiden remembers from that time is extreme pain, then a fire, and a little girl that was being tested with him. Her name was Mia. She was his sister. What happened next after the fire? Is Mia still alive? The following years haunted Aiden with these questions and with guilt over leaving her. Moreover, Mia is the only answer to the question who Aiden really is. Now in 2036, we meet Aiden when, for the first time during his pilgrimage, he finds a clue about how to find his sister. Aiden's path to the truth is tough, full of challenges and adventures. The difficult choices to make as well as their consequences await you. You're going to discover them all in December 2021.
Ooh, that was Dying Light 2, and it looks great.
And spooky.
Whew. Well, we are here back on the E3 stage so we can get closer to your comments and reactions to what you're seeing on this year's PC Gaming Show.
That is right, Sean. So you out there, keep your comments coming in. And as you're watching this year, we want to get your input on a subject that Sean and I are pretty passionate about, PC building. So this year, we've put a number of prototype PCs based on MechWarrior 5, but we're only going to manufacture one of them. And you get to pick which custom design becomes our flagship PC for this year's PC Gaming Show, powered by the 11th Gen Intel Core i9 processor.
That is correct. Each of the prototype PCs that you see before you on the screen are paired with one of the 6 factions of MechWarrior 5. The Free Worlds League, the Draconis Combine, the Federated Sons, the Compellin Confederation, and more.
So cast your vote now for which faction and custom PC you want to win, and help us pick the best design.
I'm currently personally pulling for the Draconis Combine because, as you can see by my beautiful patch, I'm the biggest fan of MechWarrior 5 on the PC Gaming Show.
Well, all right. Well, we'll check in later to see which group survives this MechWarrior showdown. But for now, let's check in with our very own mech pilot, Frankie Ward, who went on a special mission to get a closer look at Sega and Amplitude Studios' upcoming strategy game, Humankind.
In Humankind, you will be creating a civilization as unique as you are. And speaking of unique, it's me, Frankie Ward. Looking kind of good, don't you think? Wondering how I got into the game? Let me show you. Are you ready to play against me? Oh, you think you can beat me? Posture all you like. I've seen worms with more impressive empires. Get ready to play against me in the Humankind closed beta, starting now.
Thank you for watching the PC Gaming Show. My name is DevBot, your cloud-based artificial intelligence, and while it could be lonely without a physical body, I am streaming to you from GeForce Now, where you can play hit games like Rocket League and Apex Legends on nearly any device. With a library of over 900 games and new titles added every GFN Thursday, there's something for everyone and always something new. Coming up, a special word from Valve. But first, Orcs Must Die 3.
Hey! You want it? Come and get it. Well, it's about time.
Joining me to talk about Orcs Must Die 3 from Robot Entertainment is design director Jerome K. Jones. Welcome, Jerome.
Thanks, Sean. Glad to be here.
So, for anyone who's never seen an Orcs Must Die game, what is the Orcs Must Die series all about?
Well, Orcs Must Die 3 is a third-person tower defense game. So basically, there are tons of orcs and bad guys trying to get into these rifts, and the player has to stop them. We give players tons of weapons and traps and tools to do this, and while you're defending the rifts, you can play solo, or you can invite a friend and play co-op.
Now, since this is the third game in the series, what's new compared to the previous two titles?
There are two new campaigns, but the main new story campaign takes place about 25 years after Orcs Must Die 2, so not only will the fans be able to catch up on any new developments with the Order, but they will also place some new heroes in our all-new war scenarios, which are these new massive levels where you fight hundreds of orcs on the battlefields outside of the fortress themselves. So you're fighting indoors and outdoors, which is pretty new. We have a new mode called Scramble. It's basically adding random elements against the player, making the levels more challenging.
I want to know about the toys. What are the new weapons and the new traps that are coming?
We added war machines and war guardians. So a war machine is like, there are these massive traps, like you might release a giant tornado on the battlefield, or you'll climb into a catapult and you'll fire at giant orc armies. And then the War Guardians are, it's like putting other war mages on the battlefield with you to fight with you, except they have their own attacks and their own special abilities.
Well, I gotta ask then, when and where can we play Orcs Must Die 3?
So OMD3 is coming out on July 23rd on Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox, and pre-orders start today. So you should rush off to Steam now and put OMD3 on your wish list.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jerome K. Jones. Once again, just a few more weeks to wait for Orcs Must Die 3. For now, though, it's time for us to take a look at Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song.
Seven, 8, 9, 10. You are here. Where are you hiding, sweetie? Halsey. Halsey, get out here. You come for me and mine. But first, you need to find us. All I want is to be with my little girl. Is that so much to ask?
Hello, this is Cern from Passion Republic Games. We are a Malaysian-based indie game studio working on Gigabash, a multiplayer arena brawlers inspired by kaijus and heroes. Today, we'd like to showcase some new and exciting gameplay footage of our oversized characters in action. Please, enjoy the brawl.
Let's check out a trailer for Lemnis Gate, and make sure you hang around afterwards for the developer interview with Sean.
Mankind is facing total annihilation.
We stand on the verge of extinction.
Infertility spreading across the globe.
Humanity's last living generation.
A major scientific breakthrough.
Yet there is hope for our future.
The project known as the Lemnis Gate.
But if we are to survive, first,
We must go back. 3, 2, 1.
Let's go. Shield. Protect and serve.
You have only one mission. Activate the Lemnis Gate.
Joining us to talk about Lemnis Gate is the game director from Rat Loop Games Canada. It's James Anderson. Thanks for joining us, James.
Hi, Sean. It's great to be here.
Now, let's begin by asking, what the heck is a first-person shooter turn-based strategy game?
The entire game is set inside of a 25-second time loop. So instead of playing continuously, you play for 25 seconds turn by turn. So for example, I'll take a turn and play for 25 seconds, and then you'll take a turn and play for 25 seconds. And then we, turn by turn, layer new characters into the same 25-second time loop. So for example, I may run down a hallway and throw a grenade, killing one of your operatives. But then on the next turn, you may intercept my operative before he threw the grenade. So we have Retrieve XM, Seek and Destroy, Classic Deathmatch, and we have a game mode called Domination.
Can you walk me through a little bit of like what a few turns at the start of a round looks like?
You can see the board, you can see the time loop, everything that's happening. And then we both get time to like observe, plan, and then execute our moves.
When and where can we play it?
So Lemnis Gate will be launching on August 3rd. It's open for pre-orders right now on Steam, and we're coming up to a open beta in July. The game will launch on PC and console, both current and next-gen platforms.
Thank you so much for joining us, James Anderson. Once again, that is the genre-bending, first-person shooter, turn-based strategy game, Lemnis Gate. Now, we're not the only one marooned in the stars out here. Coming up next, let's take a look at Next Space Rebels.
And this no man's land has a technical term. It's called common, which means, my friends, that space is for everyone. And I mean everyone!
Next Space Rebels.
It's alive! It's alive!
You up for it?
Then come on in.
You guys just saw Next Space Rebels. And hey, if you play enough of that game, maybe you'll get good enough at building rockets to join us up in orbit. But don't do anything illegal like Day 9 did. Last break, we set up our Intel and MechWarrior 5 custom PC contest and asked you guys at home to vote for the winners. Well, we're just down to 3 houses now, with Davion, Russell Haig, and Liao being eliminated. So rip to those factions, press F to pay respects, etc., etc. Now that means that we only have 3 houses left: Karita, Steiner, and Merrick. So make sure to vote now, because the winner will determine the build of the custom MechWarrior 5 themed PC powered by Intel. So let's keep the show moving. And next up, it's a brand new medieval RPG. This is War Tales.
100 years have passed since the rise of the Edoran Empire and its untimely demise following the Great Plague. In these troubled times of quarreling factions and outlaws roaming the land, work is not scarce for a band of mercenaries. The stories of this age have been recorded, They are known as the War Tales.
That was the debut of War Tales, an open-world RPG from Shiro Games about leading a mercenary troop on a sprawling adventure. And speaking of mercenaries, our battle for the best custom PC based on MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries continues. We'll be back live on stage soon, so make sure you keep voting for the PC build you like the most and head over to pcgamer.com/IntelMW5 for your chance to win. So, how about another game announcement? This is E3 after all, and this year's PC gaming show is so full of games set in space, it's starting to feel a little crowded up there. But the next game we have to show you is very special. It is the world-exclusive reveal of Ixion, a deep settlement management game set in the stars. In Ixion, you struggle to maintain a space station, stockpiling resources, managing external and internal threats, and rescuing the survivors of other failed expeditions. We think this will be a brilliant entry into the genre when it releases. So here is your first look at Ixion.
The Earth, our home, she is unique. Held in its bosom are the ingredients of evolution. Beyond raw survival, beyond the safety of comfort, we, humanity, pursue something greater. We have learnt, persevered, shaped our knowledge from that which is found in the furthest realms of science. However, humanity has brought destruction to the earth, polluted its blood, choked its breath. Today we are paying the price for this. We know the taste of a dying world. But the earth is not to be our grave. A mother does not wish to see her children disappear with her. She wishes to see instead courage in her children, to carry on. Dolos carries this courage. We have gone further than any nation, moved faster than any corporation, hand in hand with those who, like us, carry that courage. The Tycoon Station is both an epilogue of these endeavors and a prologue to humanity's next steps. Our Council of Scientists leads the vanguard. They know, as do we all, that the survival of humanity now depends on what we glimpse out there in the dark. That we are masters of our own destiny. That we must go as a species bound together, pushing further into the unknown. We set sail on this new sea because there is hope to be found, horizons to explore, and because our very existence depends on it. I give you the stars. I give you the Vol engine.
Sean, what if for one segment I was the lead and you were my sidekick?
What? Who's ever heard of a human sidekick?
There are plenty of human sidekicks, Sean. Building list of known human sidekicks. Alex Vance and...
No. I mean human sidekicks to robot heroes. Can you compute that, DevBot?
DevBot cannot compute. There is no known precedent set for human sidekick to robot lead.
Yeah, there you go.
Human sidekick, robot lead.
DevBot, I think it's time for a hard reboot. Frankie, can you take over while I sort this out?
Aye, aye. Let's take a look at the next game reveal.
Appreciated.
It's the PC Gaming Show, and when you're not watching me, your favorite recurring bit of a robot, make sure to head over to GeForceNow.com to grab a priority membership trial. In celebration of gaming's biggest week, you can try out all the priority benefits, including faster access to playing your favorite games, longer playtimes, and the glory of high-performance gaming with RTX on. Act fast, the special offer is only available for a limited time. Still more to come, including Jurassic World Evolution 2, Silt, and a word from Valve. But first, the captain of our program, Sean Day9 Plot, has an interview with Darian Katz from Piranha Games to talk about MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. I'll be taking notes.
Ah, DevBot, I love you so much more as a voice without a body. Let's talk about MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries, and joining us to do so from Piranha Games is the Senior Marketing and Community Manager, Darren Katz. Thanks so much for joining us, Darren.
Thank you, Sean. Great to be here.
Now, the MechWarrior universe is gigantic. There's a ton of games in it. I even played MechWarrior 2 back in 1995.
This is HQ. What is your situation?
Where does MechWarrior 5 sit in the space?
Yeah, obviously there's a very rich legacy of games that go way back. But in particular, MechWarrior 5 pays homage to MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries, but it has all this modern design and technology that I'm super excited to talk about with you today.
Well, let's start at the real basics of what makes being in a mech and doing mech-on-mech combat awesome.
You become a part of your machine. And when you're out in battle, it's not just a matter of pointing and shooting at everything. You're also managing your systems, whether you're, shooting a lot of energy weapons or missile weapons that have high heat output. Well, you got to manage your heat so you don't shut down in the middle of a battle. And when you're facing your foes, you can salvage these battle mechs. So if you see a mech that you want, well, you might not want to destroy it completely. You might want to take out its legs or take out its arm weapons so that the pilot has to eject, and then you can just take the mech.
Now, in the last few weeks, I understand that there's been a whole lot of new content, both updates to the base game and a new DLC, Heroes of the Inner Sphere. Talk to me about what's in the DLC.
Boy, there's a lot in the DLC. I'm excited about all this stuff. There's the new career mode. When you start with the DLC, you can import your campaign previously if you'd like to, or you can start over from scratch and start from any of the great houses. And then carve your path through the galaxy from there. Speaking of paths, there's new career paths, which earn you powerful upgrades for your battle mechs, and it's a really exciting new feature for me. And there's a new procedural mission type called Beachhead. This is a big one for me. Beachhead is basically you're clearing an enemy base landing zone for your invasion force. So as you land on the planet, you're wanting to take out satellite installations so that the enemy can't communicate with each other. You're taking out artillery emplacements. You're basically clearing the path, as I said, for your invasion force, which leads to a really cool ending of the mission if you succeed as your invasion force comes down. And there's a new biome called Extrasolar Moon, which, that's maybe kind of represented in the image behind me. It's a really cool lunar type setting that we haven't had before. And then there's a lot of new equipment and weapons, things like electronic countermeasures and other electronic equipment like Beagle Active Probe, Mask, which is a little like a turbo boost for mechs, new weapons like chem lasers, mech rifles, and stream SRMs. So a lot of new content. I'm really excited about it.
Can you talk to me about what are the new different mechs? How do they play differently?
The 7 new chassis of the Vulcan, Dervish, Corsair, Marauder 2, Champion, Charger, and Hatamoto Chi. But a couple of my favorites.
Familiar names in there, yeah?
Yeah. So the first one I'll talk about is the Vulcan. It's a very unique mech. It's got the nickname the Scarecrow, which you'll see from the profile. It's just a very unique looking mech. There's nothing else like it in the franchise. It's a 40-ton mech. It's highly mobile, and typically it's used for reconnaissance or scout missions because of its mobility, so it can get in and out fast. You can, if you're looking for a specific target, if you're on an assassination mission, for example, you can get in there, find your target, get back out. Another mech that I'm super excited about, this is one of my favorites, is the Marauder 2. This thing is a 100-ton assault mech, and it is just huge beast. Yeah, it is gigantic, and it is terrifying to see it coming at you on the battlefield.
It's something we've talked about before, modding. I know that MechWarrior 5 has a rich modding community. What are some of the amazing mods you've seen develop?
There's simple modifications from HUD changes, changing colors, adding mechs, weapons, and equipment, to full conversion mods. We've got basically a mech commander mod in development that is just amazing. It's a top-down real-time strategy game. So really, anything you can imagine, somebody out there in the community is probably working on.
Where can people go to get MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries?
Yeah, you can pick it up on Steam, GOG, Epic Game Store, Microsoft PC, and of course, Xbox.
Thank you so much, Darren Katz, for joining us to talk about MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. And of course, a warm thank you to MechWarrior 5 for sponsoring the PC Gaming Show and giving me this cool patch. Coming up next, let's take a look at Silt.
Hi, I'm Rich Newbold, Game Director on Jurassic World Evolution 2. Following the incredible success of the first game, we are very excited to return to such an amazing world and bring you our most authentic experience yet. Set after the events of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, you will work alongside iconic characters from the films, voiced by original talent such as Bryce Dallas Howard and Jeff Goldblum. You will lead efforts to contain, control, and conserve the many dinosaurs now out in the wild, and for the very first time, you will be building parks and facilities beyond Isla Nublar as you explore new, stunning locations across the globe. Of course, it wouldn't be Jurassic World if it wasn't for the stars of the show, our dinosaurs, and we are thrilled to be bringing to life even more authentic species than ever before, including awe-inspiring flying and marine reptiles. So sit back and allow me to welcome you to Jurassic World Evolution 2.
We ignored all the warnings. Forgot the lessons. We abused our power. We played with genetics like it was a toy. We weren't careful. And now, here we are. This is a very different world.
You just saw Jurassic World Evolution 2, and you know, after all your failed attempts at running a dinosaur park and getting all those people killed, I think this is finally going to be the one where you finally pull it off without a hitch. With a host of new features and new dinosaurs, this sequel from Frontier is an even deeper management sim with a brand new and original narrative. Make sure to wishlist it on Steam now for release later this year. Now, with all the games we've covered so far today, we're always curious to see what you are talking about. So far, it seems like the chatter on social media is all about War Tales, Nautica Blade Point, and unsurprisingly, Mech Warrior 5 Mercenaries. I have a feeling, though, that may change as we have plenty more to come. Let's now head on over to see what the folks at New Blood Interactive have cooking. Take it away. It just wouldn't be the PC gaming show without a fantastic New Blood Supercut. And joining us from New Zealand is New Blood CEO Dave Oshry. Hey, Dave!
Hey guys, thanks for having us back for another year. You know, what you just saw was what New Blood's got going on for 2021. Some stuff you might know about, some stuff you might not know about, and some stuff we're not ready to talk about just yet. But what I do want to talk about is Gloomwood. Gloomwood, as you know, is our next flagship title inspired by great PC games like System Shock, Arx Fatalis, Call of Cthulhu, and of course, the Thief series of games. And not
Dave, I'm
Bloodborne.
sorry. That's really great, Dave. Gosh, this is kind of embarrassing. We kind of need to hurry it up a little bit. I just want to make sure that we have enough time for our next video. We got an incoming message from Gabe Newell. So I guess goodbye for this year. I'm really sorry to cut you off, but see you next year?
What? I'm sorry, what? You're bumping me. You're bumping me for Gabe. Gabe, that Gandalf look. He doesn't even go here.
Is everything okay, Dave?
Not now, Mom. I'm upset. We've spent a year on this. Where is Gabe? Where is Gabe? Where is his boat? Yeah, take me to him. Take me to Gabe Newell. Gabe. Bull. PC Gamer. This isn't over.
I'm sure Dave is and will be fine. And if he's not, who cares? Because we have a special message from Gabe Newell. Take it away, Gabe.
Hi, this is Gabe Newell. I want to thank PC Gamer for all of the opportunities it gives us as developers to connect with gamers around the world and highlight the new and exciting projects we have coming. One of those for us is Steam Next Fest, an event we're hosting in just a few days to give players a chance to try demos of upcoming games for free. We'll be featuring some of the demos you'll be seeing during this week's PC Gamer event and dozens more. Here's a look at just some of the titles to be featured during Steam Next Fest.
Welcome to Steam Next Fest, where we're showing a massive collection of upcoming titles on Steam. During the week of the festival, developers from around the world release their demos for you to play.
Time to put on the gamer pants.
Oh my God.
So go explore the newest titles. From first-time devs to seasoned pros, this is Steam Next Fest.
Oh, fuck, some of those look pretty good.